let me ask you this. Have you seen this scene? Have you perhaps seen this scene and had an emotional reaction? And what about this scene? Shit. If the answer is yes to any one of these things, then you will probably know exactly what I'm about to talk about. Good day, ladies and gents, my name is Helzo the Bearded Balkan Blabbermouth, and today I want to talk to you about something that is very, very dear to me, and I want to also cure some misconceptions that probably arose in the last few months, that gamers don't want any kind of representation or any kind of connection to oneself in video games. Now, to give you a bit of a backstory, the whole debacle comes from the overuse of the word representation in video games currently. And when I talk about representation, I mean about the physical, most basic representation. The I must look like this person or this game character must look like me in order for me to feel represented. They must have the same struggles as me. They must have all the same characteristics as me. This has been the driving force behind the woke narrative, the DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion inserts in video games recently in the past, probably around a decade, pushing the narrative that people need to feel seen and people need to see themselves in a physical manner when it comes to video games. And naturally, from the side of gamers, there has been a massive growing pushback against this narrative, with 2024 marking the year that the tides have turned and gamers have started winning again. Now, when we are talking about representation and the physical representation, of course, this is unbelievably stupid. You don't need to look exactly like the character that you're playing with or that is on screen in order to feel yourself represented. That is, to me and to any sensible person, in my opinion, absolutely stupid. And yes, I know character creation is a thing and you can make yourself into a game. That's good. That is not something that is included in these conversations. I'm talking about when you're playing a certain character or certain characters, NPCs or companions or other are in the game beside you. Character creation is nice. However, it's only one part of what we're talking about. You see, the whole pushback against that sort of representation in video games is that it takes away from the focus of the game being actually good and presenting you with good characters, good storyline, good gameplay and good overall feeling. The focus on representation was so big that games that were previously from a franchise that was dull in success are now the source of its own failure. And yes, I am talking about Dragon Age the Veilguard. And so we have our two sides. One is the side of representation and the other side is of good gaming. And of course, the rational thought and the rational thing to do is to choose the good gaming and the good storyline and everything that actually makes a game playable and enjoyable by gamers who want escapism. However, it is not to say that representation does not matter. It is actually the opposite. Representation does matter quite a lot. However, not in the way it was presented to us in the past decade. The clips that I showed you in the beginning aimed to do one thing exactly: to provide you with a visual or a memory, if you have played these games that were on screen, that representation of character is what we are looking for, and representation of character is something that is endowed and it's imbued in the gaming code that makes such a game pleasurable to its very core. If you have played the Mass Effect franchise, or if you have played the Witcher franchise, or any of the major franchises from years past, you would probably find yourself thinking that a lot of the non-human characters, for instance, were some very relatable ones. I myself find a great resemblance with Garrus Vakarian, Mordin Solos, or even Urdnot Rex from the Mass Effect franchise. Or with Zoltan Shive from the Witcher 3 game, or not to forget Chiron from Age of Mythology, who was a centaur, All these people are not human per se, but it doesn't matter because all these people have certain characteristics that I connect very strongly with, and while that's not the entirety of the personality that I encompass or that they view through me, it is something that makes me feel very close to them and very keen to have them on screen. On the same hand, when we're dealing with character creation and when we're dealing with choice-based games just like Mass Effect, and you can chart your path towards being either Renegade or Paragon or somewhere in between, you can also chart yourself as a character in that scenario and not as you look only. The point I'm trying to make is that this is what is missing currently in video games, because currently we have the...
Thank you. So, I'm non-binary.
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
a soulless, emotionless, characterless moving picture of something that just encompasses a vision that is also so hollow as her. And don't get me wrong, I have no issue with representation of that kind when it is natural. I did a stream earlier today and I actually made a point for one other Mass Effect character who is Cortez from Mass Effect 3, who is a homosexual. But the difference is that representation there was extremely natural. It wasn't forced, it wasn't done so intentionally as to encompass his entire characteristic. It was a part of him, but it wasn't what he was entirely. And this is the difference. The good character, when you have a good, decent character, well made, well thought, and representing your values or someone else's values or some values that you wish to have, this is when you have the basis of a good game. Giving you an example with Joe from The Last of Us 1. He was a broken character. He was someone who has been through a lot, through a great deal of loss. However, his character was beyond that. He was a character with a type of redemption, with a type of still do something good even against his own will at times. However, he always stepped up and did what had to be done. You also had Ellie, you also had other characters from that game that were also so very well made. And sadly that was almost non-existent in the second game because they catered more to the other type of representation instead of an actual characteristics representation. Which is where the issue lies. We actually need to escape the world when we play video games, and to escape the world we need to have several things in order. We need to have a well-built world that would accept us and that would let us immerse ourselves in it, and we need well-built characters that are at the same time believable and very well made in order to be part of that fantasy world. And while we connect with the fantasy elements, with what we do in the game, with the control we have to change the narrative, to progress in the game, to even weave the story in some instances, we also have this one little thread of basic human characteristics that connects us to reality and even has us wanting to have those characteristics or enhances what we already have and gives us additional either strength, love, compassion, bravery, or even the resolve to do what is hard to be done. If you go back years ago and you start reading the forums, you'll see countless and countless people just saying how this video game or that video game saved them. I have personal history with video games that have saved me through difficult times, and that's only because they were made in such a great way. They helped me figure out my own emotions at the time, figure out the struggles that I have, and help me get past them through the gameplay, through the conversations in-game, through the community that was there. It was so very, very well, and we need to have that once more. We need to have this representation of character built into the games. We don't need someone that looks like exactly like us. We need someone that represents the good characteristics that we want. We need people to be well made, well thought, to be diverse in character, to be diverse in thought, to be diverse in their behavior, to have this absolutely immersive scene without any shallow moments, without anything taking away our absolute glee when we play these games. And I do believe that companies will soon come to find out that this is what they need to start doing again, because otherwise gamers will just move on to something else or another game that does it instead of the AAA studio. Currently, indie games are on an unprecedented rise, and they know what's up, they know what they need to do, and they know and they have studied how to capture the gamer's attention. Games like Stellar Blade and Black Myth Wukongs, who come from studios that have not been known to have such AAA games in the past, did their homework in the best way possible and provided us with both the visual and the story aspects of a game that we need to immerse ourselves. Whether you call it gooning, whether you call it simping, whether you call it just pornifying a game, especially in the case for Stellar Blade, this is something that we enjoy, and we enjoyed it because we had awesome immersive experience that gave us exactly what we wanted and what we needed, without any unnecessary pandering, any unnecessary political messages, and unnecessary artificial inserts that we don't want. And gamers will forever want those things first. They won't want anything else political. They would like to be immersed, they would like to be engaged, they would like to feel represented in terms of characteristics, and they would want to meet like-minded NPCs or teammates or squad mates and to connect on that level, not on a visual level, because it is what's on the inside that ultimately matters most. But anyway, this is all I have for today. Thank you very much for watching this video if you did until now. If you enjoy my content, press the like and subscribe buttons in the description below. You can also find the Patreon link to my charity where I help homeless animals and animals in shelters. If you want to support my journey on YouTube directly, you can click the join button and become part of the DiscussThing guild, and I will be very happy to see, read and respond to any comment you have with your opinion on the matter. Thank you very much. My name is Helzo, this was DiscussThing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers and stay fresh.